Okay, say hello to the 1995 Lincoln Town Car with 133,000 miles. We have a check engine light code that's coming on that's indicating that the EGR flow is not adequate, evidently. Now I'm going to undertake his job. I'm really not an expert at this, probably my first time doing it. And with a little help from the guys at the Lincoln's Online website, we're going to give it a try. So let's take a look at how we determine how we come to this conclusion. You can hear the air compressor for these. Okay, there's the code right there. P0401, EGR flow is insufficient. Now I've already erased this code once. See, with this device here you have an option to erase the code. See where it says ER, and within about 10 or 20 miles it comes back on again. So we are going to have to get in there and clean it. Alright, I'm going to skip some of this part, removing this. But this device in the back right here is what we're kind of going to want to remove. So let me get some of these things off of here and we'll cut to the chase and try to get up into the good part. Okay, now it says to remove this device right here, and we're going to want to visualize what's going on down below there. Now it tells you to take some snapshots of how everything's connected so you remember, so we can kind of do that. Let's see, yeah, it's down in there are the screws. Now we should not have to take this out. I think this will loosen this bolt here, and this whole device should just move out of the way, or it may not even be necessary to do that. I know we'll take these bolts out, take this device off right here. Popped right off after I took 4 screws off. So now the decision has to be made, probably to take this plug off. I hate to remove these things because they're just so damn fragile when these cars get old. I may or may not take this off. I'm going to imagine if I take this off, I could just flip this whole thing over and out of the way. What I do with the screws, I kind of set up a bucket now. I used to just, as I would work on a car, kind of just set shit everywhere, and then you go to find it and then you can't, or it drops down in the engine. So now what I do is I set up a bucket and just kind of take screws and set them there. So I always know where they are. So if you've done this through the years as a backyard mechanic, you kind of know what I'm talking about. Alright, so I'm going to take this off, flip it over, and then we'll start working on that other piece. Okay, that strategy did work so far, just to take that plug and then flip it over. Now I'll probably have to damn near lay on this engine to get up in there to get those other screws out. So let me go take a look at that. Okay, we're starting to get the screws out. The problem is you can't reach in and get them once they're loose. So what I do sometimes in tight areas, I use this, it's like pipe, what the hell is it even called? It's like clay, pipe clay, or some kind of putty that you seal holes with when you work on things, electrical. And I stick some in the socket, and then it kind of held the bolt coming out. Remember, get all the screws and put them where you know they're going to be. These are the identical screws as the ones that were up in the front there. So let me keep working on that. Okay, I should probably show you this part. I'm on the last screw in the back, and I don't know if this will show up correctly on the camera, but this damn box that covers the windshield wiper motor, probably to keep it quiet is the purpose of it. The socket, the ratchet won't go straight, all the way straight up, so I have like a flexible socket in there. And it's always the last one, isn't it? There it goes, it's loose. Alright, when I get that out, I'll show you. I mean, you could probably do it if you didn't have the socket. You just have to hug down in there close, but if you have one of those sockets, I'll show it to you once I get this out. Okay, That's the swivel socket I'm talking about. This socket is 8 millimeters. And see with that little bit of putty in there, it will hold. Alright, now it's loose. Before it comes out, we have to figure out what else is going to be holding it. That's my guess. Okay, you should probably see how this plug comes apart. I could just show you just kind of what's going on. See this device? It kind of lifts up. You have to pick it up. I can't do both, but I could just kind of show you the principle of it. It shows, see this? That picks up and it'll slide up over top of that clip. If I had an assistant, there we go. You could kind of see it, how it's kind of clips up over. Okay, I can show you at least that much. Yeah, alright, this one, you're thinking why it's not coming off. There's 2 hoses in the back of this thing that also need to come off, that are attached to this device that's next to it. And I got to come up with a different strategy when I put this back together. But we'll see. So I got to pull those 2 hoses off. Okay, I purchased a new gasket. This is the part number here. And this is what it looks like. Whether I'll need it or not, I don't know. Now let's take a look at, I have that device kind of moved out of the way. And you can kind of see what we're looking at now. At least I hope I got the camera in there. Might need another light. Yeah. I don't know if you can see there. Now I haven't taken this gasket off yet. But there's a channel. You can see the outline of the channel. Now and then there's little inlets that come in. I'm going to pull this gasket. I already committed one of the no-nos. I got stuff down inside of there already. So let me pull this off and see if it can be that clogged or not. I don't know. We're going to find out. Okay, here is the gasket. This is the top side. This is the bottom. I don't know if you can see this. I can't wait to look at the engine. This is like comes around in a circle, and this is kind of the inlets where it comes in. Alright, let's take a look. Okay, this will give you an idea of how dirty it could be. Let's see if I can get up on it there. That is all filled with gunk. And if you could see, there's channels, and then there's like a little gap in that line. This is where the exhaust gas comes back in. That is absolutely a mess. So we're going to scrape it and get a vacuum. It's completely clogged. 133,000 miles, and this is what you get. Alright, then we'll scrape it up and get a vacuum. That's what they recommend. And then you'll kind of see what a clean one looks like. Now I have to find a wire, because there's a hole, I believe it's on the passenger side, that kind of channels down to where the exhaust is to let some of this exhaust gas back up here. So let me scrape and vacuum. Whew, what a mess. Okay, now that I'm cleaning it, you can see the channel that's there. And if you see that right there, I won't focus in, that little gap, the exhaust, it looks like comes up here from the passenger side, floats around in here, and comes in through these little gaps. This whole thing was clogged up. Now we have to work on this area. The Lincoln's Online people recommend a coat hanger, and you know, I'm tearing a house apart. My wife decided to buy, years back, all plastic hangers. I managed to find one. It's kind of thick. There's a thick one and a thin one. I'll go with the thicker one first. And outlet in this mess somewhere where the flow kind of comes up and goes around that circle. So let me, you can see how clogged, that thing was all the way clogged up. It's just amazing. So let me get a hanger and kind of work it in there and see what we could do. There's no damn coat hanger going in there, but I managed to get this much of this wire in there. You can see that there's goop all the way down in that track. So I'm just going to keep digging at it with this piece of wire. Okay, there it is. It's still a little gunky down in that. Damn, man, I better clean that better. The more I look at it. That's kind of where the exhaust gas comes back in and travels around that channel and comes in through those little gaps, those 3 gaps right there. So you want to make sure those are clean for sure, so the gas can sneak into the chamber. I gotta get down in there better. Okay, that is it. I think that's the best we're gonna do. And what's funny is now that I have this off, I'm kind of sneaking a peek at this thing right here. And look at that mess in there. So we're gonna have to clean that out. I'm not sure what that is. That's the second hole coming up. So we're gonna clean that out and we're gonna slowly put the thing back together. What I did was, instead of taking those hoses off, I got a little bungee cord and just held this off to the side. And I'm so glad I saw that. How the hell did that get in there? So, one problem leads to the other. Okay, let me put this baby back together. Okay, it should be easy to remember which way this gasket went on. This looks like the top and this looks like the underneath. It's interesting how that goop or whatever traveled over top of the gasket. So since I bought a new gasket, we might as well just put it on. The Lincoln's Online website was recommending to use a high temperature sealant, and I don't see any on this. Any kind of a gasket sealant, so I'm going to just try to go without it. I have no idea what was clogging this thing up right here, but I cleaned it out with some throttle body cleaner, and this looks pretty decent now. So we're going to try to assemble this mess and hopefully it'll start up. I did not clear that check engine code, so we're going to want to see what that looks like after we start it. So let me slowly put it back together, which in fact should be a challenge after it's all like this, but we'll see how we do. Okay, here's a little confusing part, see? Now this hose, and then there's another one. There's two inlets or outlets, I don't know what the hell to call them, but this one I think went on the bottom, if I remember right. This one comes from across here, and the other one went on the top. They're probably going to be about the same size of an opening. You'll have the advantage of just sliding the little space bar back. I'm going to have to rewind because for some reason this doesn't make sense to come from way over here and under it. But I guess it does. The rest of this should be easy. I'll have to rewind and take a look at it. Okay, here's a fine little anecdote. When I was putting this thing back together, I actually got confused. On this side here, there are 2 hoses that go into this device right here, and I got confused which one was which. And Derek on Lincoln's Online sent me a picture of how this should be, which was really great. So anyway, if you need to remember, there's two little hoses go into one big hose, goes into the first one, and a hose that comes from the other side goes into this one, the second one. So now I'm hoping that the rest of this should be pretty easy to do, and let me get it going. Okay, we're putting this last piece back on. When you look at this gasket, I'm just going to reuse it. You see those little perforations there on this one and this one? That's designed that you can put the screws in the device, and this gasket will slip over top with a screw here and a screw here, and it'll kind of hold it in place until you get it where you want it to be. That's just a little tidbit I figured I'd show you. Okay, probably before I put the air cleaner and such back on, I better go inside the car and make sure the gas pedal is working okay with that thing connected. Okay, now I'll put the air cleaner back on. Okay, I think I have everything back together now. This is the part where the backyard mechanic does not put all his tools away. He kind of waits to see if he's going to need them again. So we're going to jump in it and see if it starts up. And if it starts up and run, then I did the job right, and I'll go back to being the pimp with the Lincoln again. And let's give it a try. I'm going to bring the diagnostic device with me. I did not clear the check engine light when it was saying that the EGR was bad. So we're going to go and start it up. I don't know whether it'll clear itself or not. But normally the EGR gases, from what I'm reading, do not start flowing until the engine is adequately warmed up. It's kind of a way you kind of test it sometimes. You can draw the vacuum on it. And if the engine's cold, it'll actually stall the engine. So we'll start it up, take it for a little ride, see if it works. Well, if something's connected wrong, it should show right off the bat. Here we go. Okay, the check engine light is still on. Let's pull it out a little bit. I don't want to clear it, but I'm going to let the car warm up and we'll take it for a ride, I think. It's slowly warming up. Feel like it runs any different. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it down here and turn around and come back, which is about 7 or 8 miles, and we'll see what happens by the time I get home. Okay, we went about 12 miles of different driving, and the check engine light's still on. I don't know enough about it to where if you have to clear this, which I can do, but I didn't want to do it at first. Let me try to shut it off and start it back up. Yeah, it's still on. I'm going to manually clear it, and we'll kind of go from there. Okay, let's read the codes. It's probably still going to be there. Okay. We're going to erase it. Okay, all the codes are gone. Now what we'll do over the next day or two, we're going to find out if it'll come back on or not. Okay, it's out now. So they figure I'll put, well, tomorrow I'll probably put 50 miles on the car. And see what the miles are now. Okay, we should know if it'll come back on in the next day.